Well, hello everybody. It's Dr. Brandon here. Happy Thankful Thursday. I love meeting and answering these questions every Thursday. Thankful Thursday kind of reminds me of all the things that I'm grateful for. So, right out of the gate, a health and wellness tip for you is to be writing down 5 things daily. 5 things daily that you're grateful for. So, I hope you are maintaining and keeping and constantly going into a gratitude journal, because with the current state of events all around, so much stress going on. We already know modern life is unnaturally stressful. With everything else going on, it's even more stressful. So we need to focus on gratitude. And I want to give a shout out to my grandpa. As he always said, every day is a great day, just some days are better than others. So remember that as you go forth. So happy July. Can you believe it? It is July 2nd. It's hard to believe that it is July 2nd already in the office. Make sure that you pick up one of our July calendars. It's our health and wellness calendar. And remember, health and wellness, the health and wellness expression that you're experiencing today or lack thereof, is specifically the result of your small decisions that you're making every day. So if you're experiencing health and wellness, that means that your behaviors and your lifestyle is being congruent with health and wellness. And if you're not as healthy and you're not as well as you would like to be, that means then we need to take a look at your day-to-day habits and behaviors. And all that, your habits and behaviors are all based on your beliefs about something. So we need to take a look at what your beliefs are and what your primary thoughts are throughout the day, because that's what drives outcomes. So thanks so much for tuning in. We have 3 questions here this week that we're going to dive into. And number 1, we're going to be talking about sacroiliac joint dysfunction. That's SI joint dysfunction. You may have heard it that way. Well, what is a SI joint? So we brought our friend right here. We got the spine, and specifically the sacrum. This is your pelvis here, and so you have the sacrum is comprised of this bone right here. Your pelvis has the sacrum in the center, and then the ilium are on the outside, and what's between them is called the sacroiliac joint. And there's not a lot of movement there between the sacrum and the ilium, and there's a lot of ligaments there for stability. And so if you're having some pain there, you need to make sure that you're getting evaluated and checked by a chiropractor, because there could be a subluxation first and foremost. So if there's a subluxation, it's going to put irritation on the nerves and then the joint, which is going to create inflammation. And we always ask this question to our patients: is your body smart or stupid? Well, it's very smart. So the body is giving these pain signals because there's a problem. It's trying to alert you to the problem. And so making sure that there's not a subluxation there is one of 3 legs of the stool to help with the sacroiliac dysfunction. So make sure, if you're not already, that you get checked and evaluated by a chiropractor to make sure there's no subluxations there. So in addition to keeping your chiropractic adjustments in rhythm, the other 2 legs of the stool is then breaking bad habits, and then the 3rd leg is then implementing good behaviors to help support your chiropractic adjustments. So you want to break the bad habits. That could be recreating the subluxation in the first place, and a big part of that is sitting too much. Okay, who's guilty of that? Raise your hand. Sometimes I'll see double hands going up on that one. But when you're sitting too much, it puts a lot of pressure on that SI joint, and that can cause a lot of stiffness, pain, dysfunction there. So we need to make sure that we're up and moving. And I want you to consider this: just sitting 3 hours a day does the exact same thing to your spine and nervous system as what sugar does to your teeth. And we're all very clear on what sugar does to your teeth. And so we want to make sure we're up and we're walking. And at a minimum, you want to be making sure you're walking 30 minutes a day. And just because you're up and busy in the office and you're like, well, I get up and down, or I'm around the house and I'm doing this, that doesn't necessarily constitute or substitute for exercise, as far as just 30 minutes getting outside or on a treadmill, time to yourself, investing in your health and wellness. So there is a difference there. So we want to break the bad habits. Big part of it is sitting too much and then getting stuck with some technology. So either you're on your cell phone or you're on a computer and you're sitting so much, it could put a lot of pressure and stress on this sacroiliac joint. In the office, Dr. Travis and I, based on our patients, we recommend specific spinal exercise to help strengthen the muscles, tendons, and ligaments around the joint to help support your chiropractic adjustments and help the chiropractic adjustment hold longer. So if you need some direction on that, raise your hand, ask us on your next visit, and we'll be happy to send some of those out. Another tool that I want to bring to attention here is what's called the Sorolla belt. And the Sorolla belt is really good at supporting the pelvis and then offering some support to the sacroiliac joints. So I just want to let you know that bracing or offering supports like that is not a big recommendation that we have. It's not a common recommendation, but a very specific and appropriate recommendation at the right time and place. And if you're dealing with SI joint dysfunction, and let's say you're under a lot of stress or your nutrition is not as good as it could be, those two factors alone could keep the ligaments weak and causing your body to revert back to old ways and patterns. And so we need a belt at specific times, and your chiropractor will know when to recommend it. And there's a difference between lumbar belts and belly bands versus this belt. And so specifically, this is going to help support the sacroiliac joint. And then I'll just kind of point it out right here so you can get a visual as it goes right around the pelvis here to help lock in the sacroiliac joints, to help those ligaments heal in between your chiropractic adjustments. So another thing to consider is that in our office, we do custom foot scans, and we can measure the foundation to the body because there's 3 arches per foot. And if any one of those arches drop, it can cause additional dysfunction within the sacroiliac joint. So you can get adjusted, and then you go back to the old ways, and then it can be causing these subluxation patterns to continue to repeat over time. So between the Sorolla belt and between potentially a custom set of orthotics and inserts into your shoes could help support your chiropractic adjustments and then also help the body heal, so you're getting ahead and not just trying to get some symptomatic relief. True healing can actually occur. So I hope that answers the question about the SI joint. And if you are on this live chat here and you have a question, go ahead in the comment section below. Go ahead and write your question in. So now we're going to go into the question about TMJ. So TMJ, if you're unfamiliar with that, means temporal mandibular joint. That's this joint right here as the jaw connects to then the skull. So a lot of people can be coming in. TMJ issues could be the result of or be the cause of headache issues, neck pain, equilibrium issues. So now you're having more of balance issues, so on and so forth. So those type of things can be the effect of TMJ dysfunction. Well, how do you get the jaw out of alignment? How does the jaw become out of alignment? If you're under stress, okay. Anybody else raising their hands, raising them up higher? So we know that modern life is unnaturally stressful. Today's modern life, 2020, we're at the halfway point, is extremely stressful. So this is like adding fuel, like gasoline, onto a bonfire here. And so it's just inflaming things more. So stress can cause you to clench your jaw. It can cause you to grind at night. So maybe you have some symptoms of that, but those type of things can cause TMJ issues. If you're lifting heavy weights, let's say in an exercise, or you're lifting heavy boxes around the house or at work, can also cause TMJ dysfunction. And let's face it, if you're going to get some dental work, maybe you're getting some Invisalign, you're getting some other type of orthodontic, or let's say you had a procedure done in your mouth where the dentist had your jaw open for an extended period of time, that can cause some TMJ dysfunction. So make sure that you bring it up to your chiropractor if it has not been discussed yet, for your chiropractor to then do an evaluation to find out if there's a subluxation in the jaw. Sometimes the TMJ dysfunction can happen because the neck is out of alignment. And it is very common for me to find in my office two things that could be in the history that would clue us into TMJ. It would be, number one, it could be a past auto injury. Now, I know what many of you are thinking, well, yeah, well, I had an auto injury 5, 10, 20 years ago, and I never had any problems afterwards. Well, what do we mean by problems? Are we saying pain? Or are we talking about dysfunction? And the question would be is, had a chiropractor checked you after the accident? Because how do you know if there's a problem if we're just relying on symptoms? That's like waiting for our first heart attack before we check in on the health of our heart. So we don't want to be waiting. So a car accident, a history of a car accident, or multiple, can cause TMJ dysfunction. And then the other one is forward head posture. It would be like, we've talked about this during Bulletproof Your Lower Back, but your head down and forward, and you're on your phone a lot, your posture, your shoulders are rounding in, you're just head down and forward, making a 10-pound head feel 20 pounds to the spine. And that could be a cause of TMJ issues, that forward head translation. And by the way, going back to the other question that was posed about sacroiliac joint, is that when your head goes forward, it also can be contributing to sacroiliac joint dysfunction. So it could start to cause pain down in that the SI joints too, from forward head posture. So even though they seem on opposite ends of the spectrum, problems in the jaw or problems in the sacroiliac joint, they can affect one another. And it can cause headaches, migraines, sinus issues, equilibrium issues, balance issues, tinnitus, ringing of the ear. Those type of things are the most common. So what do you do about it? Go back to the three-legged stool. Number one, go to your chiropractor and make sure your chiropractor is checking for TMJ issues. In our office, we have a very specific check to see if, like, one of the pterygoid muscles in the jaw, or the masseter, or any of the other muscles around the jaw could be in spasm, could have a trigger point that we need to release. We get awesome results with that. By the way, an undiagnosed TMJ issue could be causing shoulder problem. So everything is connected, and we need to look at the body as a whole. So that could be an issue right there. So we do the checks in the office. The other thing is that we talk about bad habits, habits that could be causing subluxation in the first place. We talked about stress. We talked about grinding, clenching throughout the day or night. We talked about lifting heavy weights, which could cause us to strain. But are you a gum chewer? You know, a lot of gum today has the artificial sweetener, which could have a toxic, that could be a toxicity in your body and cause a chemical subluxation and nerve interference. But a lot of times you're chewing on one side of the jaw. That's going to create dysfunction. How about when you're chewing your meals? Or if you're chewing anything rough, like, you know, a tough steak or something like that, or nuts, you know, chewing that throughout the day, almonds, things. You know, are you chewing on one side compared to the other? That can create dysfunction. So I do recommend 6 different mobility exercises for your jaw that commonly are associated with TMJ. And so basically you're going to go through some range of motion where you open and close, and then go side to side, and then front to back. Those 6 motions can help the TMJ work better. So bring it up to myself or Dr. Travis if you're coming in the office. If you're watching this from afar, make sure you talk to your chiropractor regarding that particular situation. And the last question that I want to cover today, this one is coming in from Carmen. This has to do with detoxing and cleansing. So, you know, I've had a lot of success with cleansing. I remember in 2008, you know, I was the heaviest that I ever remember seeing myself on the scale. I weighed in at 199. If you know me today, it may seem really hard to believe that. Yeah, there was a point that I was at 199. And I knew something needed to change in about a month prior to my wedding. So there was a good motivator there. Is that I went to a presentation from a gentleman, and he talked about cleansing and detoxing. And upon cleansing and detoxing my body, I had dropped 15 pounds. Now, the program that I was on is not a weight loss program, but I want to let you know is that as you're losing weight by getting healthier, that's the goal, is that as you get healthier, you lose the weight. So I always got to remember the why we're doing something. I know going, having a wedding coming up, or, it's beach season, or whatever it may be a motivator. But remember, the goal is always to get healthier, and as you get healthier, your body responds, which could be that you have less weight. So, so why do we want to consider doing a detox? Why do we want to consider doing a cleanse? Well, it's just like if you have toxic soil. We talked about picking up a theme here. Modern life is unnaturally stressful. I want you to say it with me. Modern life is unnaturally stressful. And even more today, it's even more stressful. And when I talk about stressful, there's physical stressors, there's mental, emotional stressors, and then there's chemical and nutritional stressors. So sometimes our body has been in a state of toxicity for months and years and decades. Now, it doesn't make sense that if you're going to plant some new seeds and some flowers and some crops to harvest and grow, that it would make sense to just put new or healthy dirt on top of a sick environment. Does that make sense to you? If there is a toxic environment and there's a whole bunch of chemicals, just putting new soil on it doesn't fix the underlying root issue of the toxicity. So therefore, we need to go through a cleansing process of the body, a cellular cleanse to clean out the body. In fact, you could store up to 15 pounds of undigested waste matter within the colon itself. Now, we don't need to get into details on that one, but I think you know where I'm going with that. And then when we have undigested waste material and these bad things, the toxicity, that's where then these viruses feed off of it. Bacteria, fungi, parasites, all these unhealthy pathogens, unhealthy microbes. And then we wonder why we become toxic. And a lot has to do with their waste that makes our body toxic. But be that as it may, that is a good reason why we want to consider a cleanse and we want to consider a detox, is to clean out our body before then we start building upon nutritional items. So the cleanse, there's a lot of them out there. Dr. Travis has his recommendations. I have my recommendations. So what I recommend, if somebody's looking for a program, I've done this once a year over the last 11 years, is the standard process 21-day detox. They have 21-day, 28-day. So if you have specific questions on this, we can set up a specific consultation in the office to talk about it for you, but we'll post this in the resource section. But standard process, so type in standard process, all one word.com, or you could type in the standard process, or SP for short, SP purification program. I'll give you all the details on this. So you end up essentially, what you're going to do is you're going to pull all processed sugars, all wheat, all dairy, all soy, all corn, any lean proteins such as chicken, beef, seafood. You're going to pull all that from the body. You're going to pull eggs. You're going to pull nuts, seeds, anything that's really high allergy. So you're going to pull that from your nutrition, and you're going to be very much eating from a very holistic standpoint of veggies is going to be your foundation with some fruit. Plus, then there will be recommendations for nutritional supplements to help support your body and give it the nutrients it needs through this process. Look, you could do anything for 21 days. And there's a reason why it's 21 days, not only to help cleanse and clean out your body, but the other reason for it is to instill new habits so that you are not living to eat, but you're eating to live. And you start to recognize that the food and anything, any food or drink you put in your body is to help empower you, to help provide power and energy to you. And anything that is detracting from that or pulling power, leaking power, leading to fatigue and tiredness, among other things, we want to avoid those things. So you're going to be, it's as much as a physical transformation as it is a mental and emotional transformation. Tons of value there. It's very affordable. The value is tremendous, and we can talk about that on your next visit. But that's what I would recommend. Now, there's another question that kind of spins off of that is, well, if I can't have this, then what can I have? Well, you can go online and look at the whole plan that they have, because they give you a shopping list, which is really awesome, and make it super simple with some recipes so you can start to see what you can have. But then it comes to, well, if I can't have that, what can I have? So I'm going to address this question separate to that cleanse and purification program, because what I'm about to say does not imply that everything that I'm going to give you a substitute for is approved on the cleanse or the purification program. Cool? All right. Just want to make sure that we're clear on that one. But if you're not having dairy, what can you have? Well, you can have things like almond milk, coconut milk. If you can't have ice cream, what can you have? Well, you can have some coconut-based ice cream. It doesn't mean that you can't have some of the things you enjoy, but what you can have is start looking for healthier options for it. And there's specific reasons of why to avoid those foods, but at a surface level, the bottom line is that processed sugar, wheat, dairy, corn, soy are very pro-inflammatory to the body. So by consuming those things, you're raising your inflammation. Well, why is that a bad thing? Because the more inflamed your body is, the more disease will set in over time. It becomes chronic, and that's an issue. That'll lead to increased pain. It'll lead to increased disease and illness processes. So that's why we need to have a shift here. So that would be an option. Well, Doc, I love pizza. Well, consider doing cauliflower crust pizza. Oh, Doc, I love pancakes. Well, there's pancakes out there that you can have that have an almond flour base or cassava root flour base. Those do not have gluten in them. They're less inflammatory to the body. So there's some options for you right there. Well, Doc, I love pasta. Okay, what am I going to do with pasta? Have you considered spaghetti squash? There's a great option. Well, Doc, I love chips. I love the crunchiness. Well, consider doing some kale chips. Okay, it's very difficult that if I were to tell you not to do something, and that if we do not substitute it with something, that it's sustainable. This is, the research is done on change. So long withstanding changes is if you're going to remove something from, let's say, your diet or nutrition plan, is that we need a substitute in there. So there are options around it, and pretty much every recipe out there, you could go and then look up paleo something. And paleo is a recommendation I have for my clients of what to eat, because it mirrors and mimics our hunter-gatherer ancestors, which is then helps to give us the nutrition to the genes that we inherited from them. Because our health conditions today, it's not a gene issue, because our genes have not changed in at least 10,000 years. It's a lifestyle issue. Remember, modern life is unnaturally stressful. So there's a lot of recommendations that I have. There's specifics. Hey, Doc, I love soda. Well, what about my soda or my pop? If you're from Michigan, you say pop. But what are some options there? Well, you might want to go with a Zevia, that has the stevia sweetener in there, but there's carbonation that'll get you close to it, but it's a healthier option. Well, what about the whole gum thing? We brought that up with TMJ. I definitely would not be having any gum that has artificial sweeteners in it. I would be avoiding things like Splenda, sucralose, sweet and low, equal. I'd be avoiding those things. But they can have some gum that has some natural sweeteners like stevia, erythritol. Those are some things to consider right there. So if we're not going to have something, there could be a substitute for it, and then fish, beef, chicken, those things will come if you're going to do a cleanse or a detox. But make sure that your beef is grass-fed, make sure your chicken is organic, and then make sure your fish is wild-caught. So I hope that answers the question about substitution. If we're going to pull something away, we need to put something good in there. That's how you get long sustaining success. And that's how you get commitment, and that's how you get long-term results. And so we covered a lot of ground today. We talked about cleansing and detoxing. We talked about SI joint dysfunction. We talked about TMJ and the dysfunction there. So great questions this week. If you still have more questions, need more clarity, post it in the Pure Chiropractic tribe group. We'll get to it, if not in between, by next week. And if you have any questions or still need some clarity around anything we discussed at your chiropractic appointment, don't hesitate to raise a hand. We're here to help you. We're here to support you. Grab a copy of July's calendar, post it on your refrigerator, mark off the days. There's some inspiration there to help keep you focused on health and happiness throughout the month of July. And remember, for you and your family's health and wellness, we've got your back. Go make it a great day and have a great Independence Day, 4th of July. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much.